Here's a rundown of the key points from Quiz 1. So the first question, what kind of role did the Senate play in the Republic? The main thing to bear in mind here is the Senate was an advisory body. It did not have the power to make legislation. All it could do was to debate issues that come before it and pass resolutions which present its collective advice to the consuls and to the assemblies. So why then is the Senate important if it doesn't actually pass laws, if it can't produce binding legislation? As I discussed in the videos, the Senate is made up of the most experienced men in Rome, the people that hold the major priesthoods, and increasingly importantly, everyone who had held a magistracy with imperium. So everybody who had been a consul, a praetor, a censor, or a dictator was a member of the Senate and was able to bring their experience in office to bear on the issues currently coming before Rome. So the Senate's collective auctoritas, the standing that it had on the basis of the collective accomplishments of all of its members, made its advice carry a great deal of weight, both on the basis of its collective experience and the stature of its members. Also, the elected offices only held office for 1 year, and so the people who held those offices were looking at things in the short term. The Senate was in a position to consider the longer-term implications of past events and present events. And finally, the Senate saw itself as the guardian of Rome's morality and its traditions in a way that's accumulated over the centuries. How is it different from the Comitia Centuriata? The Comitia Centuriata is an assembly that passes laws. It's the body of Roman citizens, in this case, meeting as a legislature formed according to the centuries, the organizational units of the Roman army. Second question, describe the function and power of the paterfamilias. The paterfamilias is the male head of a Roman household. And because the Roman society is made up of families interacting with each other, what happens within that family is the business of the family. The way the actions of the members of the household reflect upon the family is the responsibility of the paterfamilias, who is essentially the liaison as the eldest male member between the interior private world of the family and the interaction of all these families in the public space of Rome. As a result of all this, the paterfamilias has a great deal of latitude in the actions he can take. All private matters were essentially in the hands of the paterfamilias, who had complete power of justice and disposition over all the men, women, and children, as well as freedmen, slaves, and possessions of his family, up to and including the right to execute or sell into slavery. As a practical matter, this was contingent upon how his actions will reflect upon him and his family. If he is too severe, if he is too harsh, that will have a negative impact on the reputation of the family and cause damage to the family itself. Also, this needs to be considered in terms of the profound influence of the materfamilias over all things within the private world of the family. The materfamilias is responsible for the management of the property. And in the real world, as opposed to what is legally possible, what happens within the family is decided upon together by the paterfamilias and the materfamilias. So all private matters are the responsibility of the paterfamilias. All public matters, res publica, are the responsibility of the Roman people, the Roman Republic. The significance of the 12 tables. The 12 tables replace the private functioning of justice in an arbitrary matter by officials of the Republic who are often acting in terms of the needs of the patricians and their own clans, with a public and published and posted law by which all citizens need to abide, most especially the officials who are acting in judgment. And so this establishes the principle of equality of all free citizens before the law. Everyone gets the same kind of justice. Everyone is treated in a way that they can expect. And this gives the Roman public a kind of ownership of the law that they had not had before the 12 tables. What strikes you as being the most important or representative aspect of the Romans' attitude toward religion? There are lots of things that we can discuss here because we've brought up a lot of different aspects of how the Romans think about their gods. There are two things that are most important from my perspective. One is that the primal and original Roman conception of the gods from their earliest antiquity is not one that is anthropomorphic, not one that talks about the sex lives of the gods and their interrelationships with each other. The Roman idea of the gods is noumen, spirits that inhabit crucial juncture places in the world around each household. This starts with the household gods and the goddess of the hearth, Vesta, and extends to things like doorways, Janus, property boundaries, terminus, and so forth. Three of these gods were elevated to deal with the actions of the state. Jupiter, the sky god, Mars, the god of war and conflict, and Quirinus, the god of the Roman community and citizenship. And this brings us to the second aspect of what's most distinctive about the Roman attitude toward religion, which is that the Romans know that they must consult the gods before any action of the state. Anything that the state does, whether it is convening an assembly or passing a law or going to war or raising taxes or anything like this, anything that the state does first involves consulting the gods. And this means that the practice of consulting the gods becomes politically important, and the people who can do that, the priests, become intrinsically intertwined with the Roman political system. This brings us to the dominance of the families that control the priesthoods, the patrician families, and the conflict between those families and everyone else, which is the conflict of the orders. And that's the end of the quiz. Email me if you have any questions.